HaMashiach, the Nazarite, who died for our sins, also known in the world as Yehoshua, Yahusha, Yahawashah, Yeshaya, Yahshua, Yeshua, the Messiah, Jesus, the Christ. All praise and glory to the Father and Son. There is no Trinity, and the Messiah is not the Father. So this is a revelation again of the true scriptural almanac, and as we said before, the word almanac refers to what a calendar is. A calendar is it's a chart or a table, showing days and dates. And some almanacs can show different astronomical events. Like if you have a farmer's almanac, it'll show you many things dealing with the agricultural seasons, and like I said, certain astronomical events. And the Most High's almanac also deals with seasons, the agricultural seasons. It'll let you know when the agricultural seasons are, ingathering, harvest, the rainy seasons, when summer and winter truly begin, and most importantly, when the festivals should be kept on their fixed set days and dates of the week.
That's right.
This is the banner of, we can call this the Star-Spangled Banner of Jah's Almanac. This here represents almost everything about Jah's perfect almanac. So, as we were hinting to before, the 40 days after his resurrection, and I'm going to let Brother Javid get into some reads here.
Matthew 28, verse 1. In the end of the Sabbath of the week, as it began to dawn towards the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. John 20, verse 19. Then, the same day at evening, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews, came Joshua and stood in the midst and saith unto them, Peace be unto you. Verse 26. And after 8 days again, his disciples were within, and Thomas was with them. Then came Joshua, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst, and said, Peace be unto you. John 21, verse 1. After these things, Joshua showed himself again to the disciples at the Sea of Tiberias, and on this wise showed he himself. Verse 13. Joshua then cometh and taketh bread, and giveth them, and fish likewise. This is now the third time that Joshua showed himself to his disciples after that he was risen from the dead.
Okay, so as we see with these verses here, we know that the Messiah was seen on the first day of the week, right, by Mary Magdalene at first at the sepulchre, and then that same day at evening, which was the first day of the week, as we can see here, he appears to the apostles, right? He just appeared to them, but Thomas wasn't with them.
Right.
And then the scripture lets you know after 8 days again, right, that the Messiah appeared. And then it also says he showed himself again. This is the third time. Now, what we're going to see is that the Messiah, with this understanding, he showed himself 7 times to the apostles. And as Brother Javid's going to let Brother Javid get into it and explain the chart about when the Messiah showed himself. And we could know that this was usually on the first day of the week.
That's right.
So, as I was saying, the Messiah appeared to the disciples 7 times and ascended after 40 days on the 3rd day of the 3rd month. And we can see that, again, this is the first appearance on the first day of the week. And I don't know, Brother Javid, do you want to go explaining the rest here?
Yeah, well, just in reference to the 3 verses we just read before, Jehoshua was showing himself in 8-day intervals.
Mm-hmm.
So the first day, as Sean mentioning, being that first day of the sheaf, which was the morning after the 7th day of unleavened bread. That was the time he showed himself to the disciples. Mary Magdalene, the women saw him first. Then in that evening, he showed himself to the disciples at dinner. And then the following Sunday, 8 days later, he showed himself to his disciples again at dinner, Thomas being there also this time, and him witnessing Joshua resurrected. That was the second time. And then the third time, 8 days again, as the scripture said, he showed himself on the Sea of Tiberias when he saw his disciples coming off the ship, and he made some bread and cooked some fish for them. And then from there, we see a pattern emerging where he showed himself in 8-day intervals. So during this 40-day period, we can see that every first day of the week, he was showing himself to his disciples. And the arrows on this chart shows in the second month, the first day, the 8th day, the 15th, the 22nd, the 29th of the second month, and then we go right up to the 40th day, which would have been on the third, or I believe the second day
Yep.
of the third month, Sivan.
Hmm.
And that was the last time the disciples saw him alive in the flesh, and he ascended up into heaven on the second day of Sivan,
The end of
leaving
his.
10
Yep.
days between that day and the Feast of Pentecost.
That's right. So we can see that the Most High, had a certain plan here, because what I'm going to show you is that the Most High also descended on the third day of the third month to give the commandments. And the Messiah also, as David was saying, he went up to the second day, which is day 40. And then at the end of that day, he goes up and he's never to be seen on earth again. Let's get a couple of those verses.
Exodus 19, verse 1. In the third month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. Verse 11. And be ready against the third day, for the third day Jah will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai. And it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with Jah, and they stood at the nether part of the mount.
That's right. So we see here in this understanding the third month, the third day of the month, and we know that was a sixth day of the week.
That's right. Acts 1, verse 2. Until the day in which he was taken up. After that, he, through the Holy Spirit, had given commandments unto the apostles whom he had chosen,
Sorry, let me get that out of the way. Yeah.
whom he had chosen, to whom also he showed himself alive after his passion by many infallible proofs, being seen of them 40 days, and speaking of the things pertaining to the kingdom of Jah.
So again, this is kind of giving us an understanding that it's around the same exact time where the Messiah is descending. And remember, it says the Messiah, what did he do? He
Gave
gave
the
commandments
commandment.
unto the apostles. And we know that many thousands, a couple thousand years before that, the commandments were also given as well. Again, these are some holy times to pay attention to.
That's right. So, brothers and sisters, take special note of these things, because these truths are not known amongst the masses of people, even amongst the children of Israel. This
That's
40
right.
day, this 7 week count that we just went through, coming up to the feast of Pentecost, during the same period, Joshua was showing him alive unto his disciples after his resurrection.
That's right. Let's continue. Okay, so let's get now into the aspect of chronology. And this is a deep area here. And so, when we're going to be talking about the birth of the Messiah, when he was born, and how old the universe is, we're
Mhm.
going to talk today about the Messiah and when he was born. We're going to get into the year and chronology, and then next week as well, we'll get more governed into exactly the season and tackle a couple of the arguments. But today, we're going to explain chronology. Very important to know, because listen, if we're going to be saying, or anybody actually, if anyone is talking about a calendar and a calendar format and whatever it is, there also has to be a chronology that goes with that calendar. Meaning there has to be, when we start to get into chronology, what is a counting of years, the calendar has to also operate throughout time in a proper sequence of chronology. And it would have to be linked up properly with the true calendar, because none of them are going to be they're not going to be against each other. So what I'm trying to say is that when people talk about calendars, which is very challenging, it's one of the most difficult aspects for people to grasp, much less to teach, much less to learn. And the diversity of opinions is great. Even now, when it comes to chronology, it's even just as great, because this is a very important. We're trying to put together, when you're dealing with chronology, like, how old is the universe, right? How can we know how old it is? We can
Mhm.
maybe even know from the scriptures to the day. And this is why when we teach about, you hear us say 6,225 from creation, we're talking about the creation of the universe. And of course, in the latter half, we'll get to when the Messiah was born in terms of aspect of years and, of course, placing him in the right month. We know that the Messiah wasn't born in Christmas, and the Messiah wasn't born at tabernacles either, which many, many people teach. And usually people who teach the tabernacles understanding Enoch or lunar calendar is what they're dealing with. So this is chronology and the 7,000 year cycle. And we teach greatly about this 7,000 year cycle. And just so you know, I mean, chronology, chrono means time, and it's the
Mm.
determination of the proper sequence of past events. So it has to be a proper sequence, right? One, two, three, four, five. It's also the arrangement of dates and events in order of occurrence, very important. And it's a table or list of events arranged in order of occurrence also. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Go ahead, Brother Javid.
Psalms chapter 90, verse 12 says, "So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom."
So you hear us talk a lot about numbering our days and counting because this is what it's all about. And when we see in the scriptures, there's a lot of references to the Most High telling his people to count. And you're going to see zero references in the Bible of the Most High saying anything about the lunar cycle. Not one thing. He doesn't say what the new moon is. It doesn't say when you're supposed to observe it. It doesn't mention anything about a crescent or anything of that nature regarding the Most High's time frames and holy time frames, nor of the sun either. So this is a numbering aspect, and we're asking the Most High to teach us, and He has taught us. You just have to be willing to learn and be patient to learn these things in a counting format, utilizing the scriptures, rather than being like the rest of the heathens who are dismayed at the signs of the heavens and want to keep up with lunar cycles and constellation cycles and all of that stuff, the zodiac and all kind of mixtures of paganism is involved in that, and astrology, even though they try to mix it up with astronomy as the study of the stars. There's a great link between astronomy and astrology, especially when it's reference to the constellations. So we're learning to number our days. Now, as we're numbering our days, it's very important for you to understand these terms: BC or BCE, before Christ, or before the common era, which should let you know it's before the Messiah was born, right? And then we have AD and CE. Now, one thing with AD, many people would think that AD means after death, right? And they would say after the death of the Messiah, but it means it's a Latin word for Anno Domini, meaning the year of the Lord, which is the year that the Messiah was born. And CE stands for Common Era. So people who don't want to use like references to the Messiah will use BCE instead of BC, and they'll use CE instead of AD. And that's good for you to know, so that if you ever coming across history and chronology and time frames, you get a good, at least a good understanding of what point of time that they're speaking of. Now, as you see, when it comes to, there's a middle here, just like how, if you remember school, you have an integer line, and you would have all the positive numbers going to the right, and you would have all the negative numbers going to the left, and in the middle would be zero. And zero is a placeholder for when you're doing math. And if you're doing math, when it comes to an understanding of counting from years from BC going over to years of AD, you would want to place that zero there in order to get a proper count of amount of years. But there's no such thing really as a year zero, but it is there for utilizing counts. And so when you're dealing with anything with chronology and you're going to be utilizing BC or AD, and you are trying to present something and accurate in time frames, you have to be aware that there's an understanding of time frames using year zero, which deals a lot with the Julian calendar, and then there's of time frames dealing with no year zero. So BC1, and we'll talk about this, BC1 goes to AD1, and that's dealing with more of a Gregorian era going back in time. Now, when we're talking about the Gregorian and Julian calendar today, I really wanted to let you know that when you're talking about a time frame that's before the creation of the Gregorian calendar, So the Gregorian calendar came in the year 1582. Well, how do you date things before that on a Gregorian calendar if it wasn't there? And so what you do is it's called a proleptic Gregorian calendar, or it's a way of utilizing time. And we can do this with the Most High's almanac, his 28-year cycle, because it's a 28 year repeating cycle and circuit. And it's the same thing with the Gregorian calendar. So we're able to tell you dates on the Julian calendar and or the Gregorian calendar going back before those calendars were even invented, by projecting them on Jah's true almanac, the true count. And I'll talk about this more, but this is something that's very technical. When you get into calendars and time frames and chronology, it kind of goes even outside of people with their scriptural understanding, and it goes into more historical, astronomical understandings. Because how old is the earth for science? Science holds it as from hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands to millions and billions would be how old the earth is. But according to the scriptures, it's a lot younger, even though when it's younger than that, it's still old.
Hmm.
So just remember, when we're going back in time, as you can see, so this is 1 and we're going into BC. The next year would be BC 2. And you can see that the numbers are increasing. And although the numbers are increasing, we're going back further in time. But once you come into AD, once the Messiah was born, AD 1, and you're going forward, time is increasing again. But as we are now in the year 2025, that would be 2025 years since year 1 AD. Okay? So just want to let you know that as we go through, and when the Most High does His timing, we don't utilize. We have to converse with you with BC and AD, but the scriptures is just a sequential count. So like day 1 of creation was year 1. Then after year 1 would be year 2, 3, and so when we present Jah's almanac and all the things of his true time frames, it's not going to be a split division. It's just going to be a sequential count all the way through from 1 to 7,000 and even 8,000. So again, negative numbers going back, positive numbers going forward. What you're going to be seeing today, we're going to be presenting with the year 0 for those who want to organize time properly, but we'll also show the non-year 0, where the Julian count and the Gregorian count.
Hmm.
So when we're talking about year 0, when we're getting into the almanac, would be the year 4,200 from creation. So if you were to go backwards, it would go back 4,200 years, and that would bring you to years to year 1. So year 4,200, which is what we're pointing to here, is year 0, and that's also equal to BC 1, which means that the year after that is 1 AD counted in years. Does that make sense, Brother Javin?
Yes, yes. This chart
Okay.
definitely helps to help us to understand this.
I just want to make sure, because this can be quite confusing. So anything before the Messiah, before his conception, is going to be in BC, and then after he was born is going to be in AD moving forward. So the Messiah was conceived in 1 BC, which is equivalent to year 0 on this understanding of counting. And then he was born in year 1 AD. And here we are, as we go down the future, we're in the year 6,225 from year 1 going back, which is equivalent to 2025, which is 2025 years from year 1 here. So not year 1 AD. Remember, year 6225 is from year 1 going back in time, and 2025 is from year 1 from AD 1. So when we're talking about the beginning of time, we have to use the word epoch. An epoch is just a particular period of time marked by distinctive features or events, the beginning of a distinctive period in history of anything. So there's epochs for, like, let's say even the Muslim religion. They have an epoch of when their Muhammad religion kind of started, and they would call that maybe 600 AD. You understand? So that would be the epoch of the beginning of the Muslim religion. So epochs can vary. When people are talking about the Bible and the scriptural understanding, it's going to go back usually to around 4,000, and we'll show you these things. But that would be the epoch that we're talking about as the beginning of time. So when we're talking about the scriptural calendar and scriptural chronology, the epoch would be the first year of creation, started from the first day of creation. We don't start from the fourth day of creation, the sun, moon, and stars, but from day one. You can read this bottom part here, brother.
The epoch for this present origination or creation is year 1, which is the year or equivalent to the year 4199 BC, according to the scriptures. This present year of 2025 AD is equivalent to the year 6225 from origination, or year 1, which we know is equivalent to 4199 BC. In other words, the universe that we know today is 6,225 years old in 2025 AD.
Okay. Now, most people in the world, when they're dealing with chronology and scriptural chronology, they come to around 6,000. Now, in this area, it's very challenging to be exact and perfect. And a lot of people have attempted to put understandings, and there'll be various understandings, and just as well as our understanding would not be similar to what many people understand. But what makes the understanding of ours a little bit more firm is that it's based upon the 28-year cycle, or the scriptural calendar, and the 28-year cycle is a perfect amount of years that keeps all the seasons in play. So the reason why the Gregorian calendar people use it and they like it so much, or the Julian calendar, is because the seasons are always going to be in play. So March 21st is always going to be around when their spring equinox comes along, which is really middle spring. But you'll notice that the Gregorian calendar keeps it in play no matter what, with their leap years, and this is based upon a 28-year cycle that the Gregorian calendar follows. And when you know that, you don't have to follow anybody when they say, well, if you follow this calendar or that calendar, it's going to wander off in the years. It is if you don't use the true time frames. But when it comes to the Most High's fixed seasons and the solar calendar, it might seem like the sun is moving off of the seasons, but it comes back around again. And this is why the 28-year cycle is a perfect cycle, moving a little bit and coming through. But the 7-day weekly cycle is firm. But as you know, the sun and moon and stars have an operation within the weekly cycle.
That's right. And this 28-year cycle that Brother Sean is talking about, this is what enables us to accurately count the number of years of the universe and of the earth.
That's
Meanwhile,
right.
there are many people in this day and age who are coming more accustomed now to counting years, where they know that the earth is 6,000 some years old, but they don't know the exact amount. And this is where the 28th cycle comes in. We can pinpoint the exact number of years, and their guess is a rough estimate, which is more accurate than science is. And they're close, but they're not accurate enough
That's
as we
right.
are.
That's right, brother. See, so Jah's chronology equals 4190 BC. That's when the beginning is, year one, and we're now 2025 AD. And you'll see that there's other understandings of their chronology or epoch. Some use a mathematical count based upon a few of those ancient scholars, and we'll talk a little bit more. So they'll have 4,246 would be their year one BC, which would mean that in 2025 AD, the Earth would be 6,271 years, which is a difference of 47 years, according to we have it on the scriptural calendar, which is quite close, to be honest.
Yeah,
And
it's very close.
I
It's very
respect
close.
this count here that was put up. I'm trying to think if it was Wycliffe. We'll find out. But it's very close, one of the more closer ones. And I mean, if you're even off 100 years in a certain area, that's still, in terms of chronology, is close. It's not perfect, but I know 100 years seems way off. But when we're dealing with 7,000-year cycle, it's pretty close.
That's
And
right.
there's a challenge when it comes to this. Now, the man named Usher has a count, not the singer Usher. And this is the more commonly used beginning or epoch, 4004 BC, which is 2025 AD. In 2025 AD, the Earth would be 6,029 years, which would be a difference of 196 years from the true almanac. Isaac Newton even got in on the counting. He had 4,000 BC. So he's in the year 6,025, which is 20 years from off of here.
200 years.
200 years, sorry. Yep, 200 years. Yep. Martin Luther also 3961 BC was his count. So that would be putting 2025 AD at 5,986, just under 14 years under 6,000, but 239 years difference from the true almanac. And then we have the Jewish count, which is mostly in the world, as you know who they are. They start their epoch at 3760 or 61. And in the year 2025, they're going to be in year 5,785. That'll be the year of creation for them, which is a difference of 438 years coming from Jah's almanac. And then the Septuagint goes way out of whack in one area of genealogy where it's 650 years difference from the rest over here. And in 2025, the Earth would be 6,675 years, which is a difference of 450 years from the true almanac. So you can
Mm.
see that people are trying to, use their minds and understanding. And we'll talk a little bit how we count these things. How do you count this time frame, right? And it's when you're dealing with the biblical time frame, you have to deal with biblical ages. And let me move on. So here's a set of, again, these individuals here who are more closer to the true understanding of the almanac. Um, as we spoke about before, one was 4192. This guy here, and these are all guys kind of back, and they're all dead now. These guys are usually in the 16, 1700s, somewhere in the 1500s, way back, and not much people are doing chronology, time frames anymore that way. And this is why how David Ray did, has his chronology. It's quite outstanding. And then there's those few others, and then a lot of other individuals who have done it. They're a little bit lower in the 3000 area BC. But the point here is that you can see that there's quite a difference of people have coming with an understanding of how old the universe is. And I
Mm-hmm.
would say again, where most people are actually accurate, yes, around 6,000 years to be accurate, 6,225, but that's okay. I ain't going to be kind of like, as you know, I kind of going hard on errors sometimes because I know this area here is very challenging. So today, Jah's Almanac, this is Sivan 4, year 6,225 of creation. It's a Sabbath. It's also equivalent to Saturday, April the 12th. And this is just for today. The Gregorian calendar, of course, April 12th. The Islamic calendar, they have their weird date. Their epoch starts 1,446 years ago. This is probably going back to the year 600 AD. Then the Hebrew calendar, which is called the Jewish calendar, like I said, they're 5,785. AM means Anno Mundi. So AM doesn't mean AM and PM as in your clock, but AM is for Anno Mundi, which Monday is the word for, or Annual Monday, the word for world. So this is the year of the world, or the year the world was created, right? So if you ever see that in creation chronology talk and it's AM, like, what are they talking about? That's their epoch,
Mm-hmm.
right? The Coptic calendar has it, solar, the Julian calendar has it as well. They haven't given an epoch for the Julian calendar, but the Julian calendar would be in the same year of Jah's cycle, or 2025 as well. Now, how this is done when you're dealing with chronology and counting, you just have to, if you go into the book of Genesis, right? And you go into Genesis, I think it's around Genesis chapter 4 and 5 and 6, maybe. And then even after in Genesis chapters 10 and 11, it goes on to Abraham, where, we're looking at this count. So the count is going to begin from when Adam was created, would be year one. On this calendar, they say year zero, but they're not showing zero. It's year one because you don't count from zero, you count one. And even if a child is born, it's in its first year when it's born, right? It might not be 1 year old exactly, but it's in its first year. And so you would say that the child is 9 months, 10 months, how many ever days. But when you're counting time from the beginning, you have to use one. You can't use zero. Because then if you do zero as one, and watch my fingers, zero, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now number six is really, I have seven fingers here. So
Mm-hmm.
that would put number six as, you understand, as the seventh number. But when you're counting from time from BC to AD and you're going and you're cross referencing, That's where the year zero comes in, okay?
Right.
Never in the beginning. Some people try to do it that way. So again, this is counting years from when Adam was born, how old he was when he had Seth, how old Seth was when he had Enos. And you can count these up and you add them up and you bring them all the way down and you would move through. You can go right through to after the flood from Nahor to Terah to Abraham. So you're counting how you would count chronology from time in the basic ways. What I want to show you here is creation from day one to when Abraham was called, then from Abraham until King David was anointed king, and then from King David's anointing of king to when the Messiah was born, and then obviously from the Messiah to the present. Now, you can break this up into any type of other understanding of counts as well, in terms of you can go from year one to the end of the creation, and then you can go from year one to the end of the flood. Then you can go from the flood until Abraham, and then Abraham until um, until the children of Israel go into the land of Egypt, and then you can go from there to when they come out of the land of Egypt. Then from when they come out of the land of Egypt until they become the kingdom of Israel. So these are different counting styles, but they're still going to be counting years going all the way through. And this is the way that most people utilize this count, and it's a good way to deal with biblical timeframes because you're using biblical ages and reigns and how long King David reigned, King Solomon, and all the kings and how long they reigned. You add up all those numbers. And David Ray has done all of those things. And I'll give you an example from his books, the Revelation of Jah's Almanac in particular, so you can see this understanding. Now, this is based upon wisdom, of course. Number 7, Brother Javid.
Proverbs chapter 9, verse 1. Wisdom hath builded her house. She hath hewn out her 7 pillars.
So 7 is the basis of this understanding of time frames. Okay, 7. Now, there are other numbers obviously are used, but 7 is the base, the principle, and the standard of which everything utilizing years, days of the week, seasons are based upon. 7 is the base. Now, we're going to look at some of these things here. I want you to notice this is very important that you kind of get this, screenshot it, try to memorize it if you can, and notice everything that's dealing with sevens. We have a 1 year cycle, and that 1 year cycle is made up of 52 weekly cycles, right, in terms of a common year. So a common year is 364 days. We'll talk about sabbatical years that are a little bit longer every 7th year. But to keep it simple, again, everything is based upon sevens. So 1 year, 1 times 7,000 gives you 7,000, right? 7 year sabbatical cycle, or every 7th year, the Sabbath year, which is in Scriptures, Leviticus chapter 25. 7 times 1,000 gives you 7,000. Then we have the 28-year cycle that we teach and learn, which keeps everything in perfect harmony. And if anything, the 28-year cycle seems to be the most important cycle, keeping everything in order within the 7,000-year cycle. Because the 28-year cycle also governs your sabbatical years, it governs your common years, and it governs the 10,227 days, which are the perfect amount of days that the sun, moon, and stars and the weekly cycle operate in, that they reset every year and can never be broken. And as Brother Javed said earlier on, this is how we can know exactly where we are to the day. I'm going to be speaking today and to let you know that, let me see, this year, today is the 2,737th day, and so on. So we're counting days from creation. And believe it or not, Babylon does the same thing. It's called the Julian day count. Let's talk about that next week, hopefully. But it's very important. We're counting days. This is how perfect things are. So the 20-year cycle is vital. Then we have the 49-year Jubilee cycle. Yes, it's the Jubilee is 50 years, but the first year of that cycle is in the 49-year count. We'll explain that as well. We have a 70-year prophetical cycle. 70 times 100 is 7,000. And of course, with the Jubilees, up 143 times 49 gives us 7,007 in terms of how many cycles are within the 7,000 year cycle of Jubilees. We have the century cycle. Everybody's familiar with that. 100 times 70. Then we have the 700-year prophetical cycle. Very important to know in reference to when the Messiah was on the scene. There's 700 times 10. Then we have the 1,000-year creation cycle, as one day is 1,000 years, as 1,000 years is one day to the Most High. That's
Mhm.
speaking that time, of course, is different according to the Most High, but it's also giving us the plan of what you'd call the 7,000-year creation cycle that we're in. We're in the first of Jah's creation. This is the first cycle ever made outside of eternity. And before this cycle was made, it was Joshua, the Messiah, our Savior, and the Father who lived in eternity. And eternity is outside of this realm that you call time, which is a realm of complete eternal existence. And Jah made a cycle of the beginning of time. So, in terms of us asking what was Jah doing before the beginning of time, he was dwelling in eternity, and that's we can't even discuss what that's like at all, obviously, but that's what he was doing. Right, him and the Messiah dwelt together. Brother Javid, you want to add anything here before I move on?
Um, Brothers and sisters, just as Sean was saying earlier, screenshot these charts and everything because these understanding these numbers are going to be very valuable to our understanding of how chronology works, of how we can understand how old the universe is, and Jah's almanac.
Hmm. Now, some people may say, "Hey, well, I don't see these things in the scripture, right?" And yes, when it comes to Jah's scriptural almanac, as you know, it doesn't matter who's trying to formulate a calendar. The information in the scriptures is not as abounding as it should be when it comes to an understanding, but the principles are there. We just read how seven is the number of wisdom. So just by utilizing that understanding and that principle can give us what you see on the screen here regarding everything with sevens. And I don't think you would disagree that seven probably is one of the most prominent numbers in the scriptures relating to spiritual things. We know there's other numbers, 12 and 10 and 40 and all of that. But seven seems to be very, prominent, like I said, especially if you read the book of Revelations and all
Mhm.
kind of things. Seven is key. Here's some more scriptural understanding of numbering.
Leviticus 25, verse 8. And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years. And the space of the 7 Sabbaths of year shall be unto thee 40 and 9 years. Deuteronomy 16, verse 9. 7 weeks shalt thou number unto thee. Begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as thou beginnest. Verse 10. And thou shalt keep the feast of weeks unto Jah thy El. Daniel chapter 9, verse 2. In the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of the years, whereof the word of Jah came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem.
Yes. So we can see sevens, right? You got your 7 Sabbaths of years, the Jubilee cycle. We got the count for Pentecost. We got this standard of numbering with sevens, where it says that Daniel understood by books the number of years. He didn't understand by lunar cycles or
That's right.
solar cycles. He
That's
never
right.
looked up anything in the sky. And which books was he reading? The book of
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah. You understand? And the same
That's
thing that we're doing too when we put together Jah's Almanac. We're reading the same books and getting the same numbers from those ancient prophets as well. And you can see that there was a figure of 70 years. And 70 years is also what you'd call the cycle of a king, right? And they would say that would be the cycle of a king living or ruling for 70 years. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that. I just wanted to make sure that you can see the sevens and this, even though you don't see certain exact numericals, you see the understanding. Now, this is chronology from the foundation of creation or religion, origination from the revelation of Jah's Almanac, the book. We have the epoch at 4199. Now, we also have to say, like I said, there's also an epoch of 4200 as well. But if you're utilizing the zero, that zero BC talk in the middle. If you're not utilizing the zero, it's 4200. If you're utilizing the zero, it's 4199. Both counts are good, but it's just an understanding of how the world counts time. And then when you're expressing something, in order for them to find it, they say it's very proper. So if you go into any book that's talking about chronology, they have to let you know, are we using the year zero as a Julian count, or are we not using the year zero? And
Hmm.
again, that's just something that I've learned as I'm digging into these things and trying to present them. So again, this is the epoch. This can be found, as I was saying, in the Revelation of Jah's Almanac. Let me bring up the Revelation of Jah's Almanac for a second. There it is. Hold on. Can I be seen? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Let me just make it bigger. I'll make it even bigger. One little bit bigger. There we go. So this is the 7,000-year almandrical cycle. And I just want to share this information with you a little bit here, because if you want, for most people don't know that we've had the Revelation of Jah's Almanac, the book, the 300-page book, online. I don't know how many few years now for free, eh,
Yeah.
David? David, in the PDF
Yeah.
for
For
free.
free.
And I
For
can tell you
free.
something. I could probably count on my two hands, or maybe a little bit more, the people kind of getting it and signing up for it. I don't know if they want to put it in their name or an email or address, but it's free. And I'm telling you, this work that David's been working on before I even met him, he was working on this book for 20 years before the year 2000. So you can say that this is like a very thorough understanding of, almost as we go through to now, like almost 40 years, right?
Hmm.
I'm going
Hmm.
into it. So, as you see on your screen, again, this is what you call the 7,000-year cycle. I'm going to show you more about it, but I need to show you this first understanding. We have year one equivalent to 4200 BC in this book. Remember, I was telling you about that, right? But
Right.
this is the other count. I just wanted to share this because there's two counts. So let me show you this. Let me show you the other count. Sometimes your chronology, we got some revelation. Okay, and 7,000-year cycle.
Mhm. Well,
Okay,
Sean was looking for that, brothers and sisters, just to show you the reason why we're showing the two counts is because some people might want to question um, uh, why we would count using the year zero. And
that's
so
right.
we have these two counts using the year zero and using without the year zero, just to show you that we've done the mathematics already. And so nobody can come question us as to why we're doing this or that. We have the two
Exactly.
counts and we've done the math already, and people can compare the two and see for themselves that our elder David Ray, he's done the mathematics. He's done what
Mhm.
Daniel has done by looking at the books and counting the number of years and days, not looking into the sky and discerning the faces of phases of the moon or nothing of the sort. Jah told us to count, and this is what we're doing.
Exactly. It's important for, as Brother Javid emphasizes this. You see, 4199, boom. Now it's 4200. Now we're dealing with the 4200 in this understanding, but I wanted to bring that out to you. And again, it's not about confusion. The world is fusing. But as Brother Javid emphasized, I want to emphasize it just again. You have to have this both understandings, because you're dealing with a Julian count and a Gregorian count. Both are good. They're not off. They just have a different understanding of what BC1 is. You understand, which is a
That's right.
year. But otherwise, they're both accurate. So as we're going through this 7,000-year cycle, I'm going to flip. We're coming from year one all the way through as we go down in time. This is in columns, by the way. So when you get Jazamak, you'll see that it goes right down into this column. And then when you get to the bottom here, it continues back up here. So you might, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a
Yeah.
number 68 here, and then it goes back up and it continues. So each page has two columns, right? That's what I wanted to show you. And as we go through, watch how far we go through. And oh, let me say this one part here. David Ray puts this here. The amount of days in the 20-year cycle is 10,227 days. In the 700-year cycle, there's 255,675 days. In the 7,000-year cycle is 2,556,750 days. So this is how
Mm,
accurate this understanding is.
that's right.
And like I say, when you're going through this, watch as we go through 7,000 years. Look how long it's going to take. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. Keep going. Okay, there's the first 1,000 years. Right? See that 1,000 right there as we're going through
Mhm.
time? This
Yeah,
is the first day ends or the end of 1,000 years right here. We keep going. 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 And we have 2,000 years, right? The end of 2,000 years is going through time. You're getting the idea now of what we're doing here, right? 3,000 years, 4,000 years. And during all of this, we have all the recordings of when Cyrus reigned, when Alexander came on the scene. You'll see all kind of writings and symbols pointing to all these different chronological markers of scriptural time throughout. And then we're going to keep going. We get to the year 5,000 eventually, right here. And we're in the area of 6,200. So we'll keep going until we get to the area of 6,000. Oh, do we skip it? Yep, here's 6,000 right here. And this 6,000, as you can see, it's showing that the 19th century begins. So this is 1901. And then we go to 6,200 is the year 2000, the year 6,200 or 2000 right here. And
hmm
then we go up. This is the calendar area for our a calendar 20-year cycle for our era. As I said, on calendar 9, you notice it says 25 there. That means it's, if we go back down, 6,225, which is equivalent to the year 2025.
that's right.
Why do we say that? Because the year 6,200 is the year 2000, and 25 from that brings you right here. And we're on calendar 9, not 99, right, Dave?
That's right. That's right.
Calendar
That's right.
9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the 28-year cycle. So as we go through, again, we're going past our time frame, right? The end of Jacob's trouble up in the future, the cleansing of the sanctuary, until finally you get to the year 7,000 or the year 2,800. Okay? Now we're going
Wow.
to take that off. Yes. So when we're dealing with this understanding, again, I want to let you know that this is not Mickey Mouse play. You can see that the numbers are all there. And believe you me, it took me a long time to type out those numbers when I was working with David. I would say almost years to make sure everything was perfect.
Mm,
So again, the Jazz epoch is 4199. There it is. The end that we just went through, the year 7,000 or 2,800 AD, which is again probably what, 6,200, what, 775 years into the future.
yeah.
When we're looking at the chronology, again, year 1 is equivalent to 4199 BC. And as we move forward on Jah's Almanac, year 1, year 2, year 3, as you go, and then when we get to the year 4199, right here, it's also 1 BC, right? And then the year 0, right here, oh, sorry, year 0 is BC 1, right?
hmm
And then AD1, 4201 is where the Messiah is born. So that's 4201 AD1, 6,225 years later, 2025 AD. This is the equivalent here. So this is where we are now. Okay? When you look at the chronological table, again, year 1 equivalent to 4199. You go through all the numbers again. Let me even go back to Jah's Almanac. to the table. And the 7,000 year chronological table. This is what we're looking at now. I got to show you this. It's just good to know because you might want to know, how did these guys know these things, right? So just 7,000 year cycle chronological table. Now this is a bit different, but it's still the 7,000 year cycle. You'll see the Joshua, as we call it, the proper order of years, year one, equivalent to 4199. And as we go through time, you see the numbers up here, they're increasing. Now, when we get to the bottom, like here, 45, it goes back up, continues 46. And so this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. And so we're going from year one. And as you notice, we're counting years going all the way through, and the BCs on the side here. Go all the way through again. Keep going. All of the years, thousands and thousands of years is passing by. And let's say after 2,000 years passes by, so 2,000 years has passed by from creation, and that would be the year 2200 BC. Now I want to bring you to when the AD area. So we got to go to 4200, remember? Going through all of these numbers. The year 4000, now we're getting close. 4100 here, 4199, 1 BC, as you can see. 4200 is 0 BC. 4201 is 180. And then as you can see what's happening, it's still 4200, 4201. We're still counting in jazz years, but now because we switched to AD, because remember, AD here is going down. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Now it's going back up again. 1, 2, 3. Going all the way through, and then to bring us to where we are today. Let me make sure I'm doing that. 5,000. And we're now going to be at 6,200. So 6,200 would be, where are we? 6,200 is the year 2000 AD, right?
Yeah.
And we're at 6,225. So if we go up, 6,225 right here, and it's equivalent to what?
2025 AD.
2025 AD. And all the numbers I can see are accurate, going all the way through to the year 7,000. And this is how we can know, because of this cycle, where everything is.
That's right. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We can go back in time or forward in time accurately year by year from the very first year of creation. And this table that Brother Sean is showing us, somebody's done the homework already, people.
That's right.
And everything matches up from the first year of creation, and we coupled that year in giving you the equivalent to the BC and AD years that we have known through using the Gregorian calendar from
That's
year
right.
one right up into the end of the 7,000 year cycle. And that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And here we are again, 6,200, 6,225. And just giving you a good understanding of why you hear when we know how the almanac is, kind of hear me kind of talk strong, how we know what's going on, because you can see when the Gregorian calendar came in on the scene. You can see exactly the day of the week that they first started their calendar on Jah's almanac and what they did. And it's because the 28-year cycle is perfect.
That's right.
See, this is the first 28-year cycle. Year one, remember, 4199. After that is year two, 4198. And so what you can see here is that we have this 28-year cycle. And by showing you this 28-year cycle, so you see how we get to the 28th year? After that, it's going to reset again. It's going to go back to year one. of the 28-year cycle, and it won't be year one. So this is, says 4172. After the next cycle, it's going to start out with 4173, and
Right.
then go through for 28 years. You can see on the 28-year cycle in front of you is that there are six, what you call in the blue, the common years of 364 days. And then every seventh year is a sabbatical year. We have three minor sabbatical years, one, two, three, and one major sabbatical year. We have the days, the amount of days, 378, 371, 371, 371. These day numbers might seem to you like, well, where did these guys just pulling these things from? Trust
Hmm.
me, when you do your calendar research, and they know about these things. Like they talk about them in their understandings and they use the numbers. But if you don't know the numbers, 378 might sound odd to you. 371 might seem weird, but it's like 50. They're dealing with weekly cycles, 53 weeks, 52 weeks for a common year, 53 weeks for a minor sabbatical year, 54 for the major sabbatical year every 28th year. And with this 28-year cycle, you never will move out of seasons, the months shifting from spring and when they truly are at all. It's impossible. And this
That's
is why
right.
the 28-year cycle is perfect and how we can know, because all you got to do is continue to reset it.
That's right. That's right. This is perfection. This is not
Hmm.
guesstimation work. We're not
No
guessing.
guessing. That's right.
This is accurate to the T.
That's right. There's nothing being guessed here. All is mathematical. So this would be like the first year of creation, year one, 4199 BC, right? And creation, as you know, remember creation, it started on what day of the week? The first day of the week.
First day of the week.
And then we had our John made all things, and then he rested on the first Sabbath. Then after number seven came day eight. You still keep counting. You get the Passover sacrifice at the end of the 14th. That means that the Passover will start on the first day of the week, our Feast of Unleavened Bread at evening for 7 days, the seventh day of Passover, and then you got your waving of the sheaf. All this understanding is from the first year of creation. And this is how it's formulated. If you have an almanac or a calendar where a bib has 29 days, 30 days, or 31 days, it's wrong. A bib can only have 28 days because everything is operating under the 28-year cycle. And the 28 days of the first month, the Gregorian calendar knows this. This is why they never play around with February too much. You notice every other month has 3130. They only add that leap year day to February every 4 years to give you 29 days. But
Hmm.
that February is 28 days. And what they try to do is they try to trick you, but it's supposed to be the first month, and then March is supposed to be the second month, but they squeeze it with their fake January, and then with the equinox month, March, and then February being in the middle with 28. Nobody kind of pays attention to what's going on. But
Hmm.
they need the February to have 28 days because it's based upon the 28-year cycle. And if you
That's
didn't
right.
do it this way, family, you'd be like the lunar calendar people or other calendars where they would have to insert 13 months every so often and do all these different intercalary things when the amount of number of days are perfect in the 10,227 day 28-year cycle.
That's right.
This is why I had to take 2 weeks to do this, because we will be continuing next week, but we'll be narrowing it down. But here, giving you just an understanding. So again, how we're counting things. And remember, after 28 years, a calendar will reset. So we go from 1 to 28, and then calendar 29 right here would be calendar 1 again of the 28-year cycle. All right, so we have our sabbatical cycle, our seasonal cycle, the jubilee cycle, all of these cycles. We're going to be looking at them. And every so often, I'm going to bring back up this chart just to keep you kind of in line with what's happening. Again, everything's based upon the sevens. So we have the 7 day weekly cycle, right? And then we have the 7 year sabbatical cycle, Leviticus chapter 25. Then we have the cycle of sevens when you're counting seven Sabbaths, right? 49 years. And then when you're counting the 1,000-year cycle, each day for 1,000 years. So we got 7,000 years. And the last 1,000 years of this cycle, as we know, is going to be the millennial rest with the Messiah on this earth, right? For 1,000 years on a beautiful earth, because the Messiah is going to be cleaning it up. We're all going to, be dwelling in a nice paradise on earth, how it was supposed to be from the beginning. And this
That's right.
again represents the 7th day Sabbath and the 7,000th year era. So again, look at the functions of the sevens. Here we are, and we're counting these days. Day one from 1 to 1,000, and I just put the days holy because the first day of Tabernacles, the first day of Passover, were holy, and I get the sense that that first day was very special to Jah as well. Even though the seventh day is the one that was hallowed, I'm not saying the first day is holy. I'm just talking about the festival area. And as you can see, 1 to 1,000. Then when you go to 1,001, that's into the second day. So look at these numbers up top, how they work out in the 7 day, 7,000 year scheme. Not scam, scheme. But then when you learn about tabernacles, you'll learn that also there's from the 7,000th, we go into a new creation, which is the first day of the week, which represents another new creation, or the eighth day. When there's a new heaven and a new earth will be made, it'll be made after the seventh day, or the 1,000 year reign, and then after the judgment, and then just like the weekly cycle, a new weekly cycle, a new 7,000 year cycle will begin in that with that eighth day. Does that make sense, Brother Javid?
Yes, and these charts clearly show how Jah counts time and how he views time in reference to 1,000 years being one day and one day being 1,000 years in Jah's eyes.
All right. So we're going to look at these amount of days in the 7,000 year cycle again. This is our era right here. So when I say our era, this is from the year 6077, which is 1877 AD. This is a set of 4 Jubilee years: 1, 2, 3, and 4. The fifth one is starting there. This is also 28-year cycles. You'll see that, every line here is a 28-year cycle, right? So this is the 20th century, 1601 or 1901 beginning right here.
Mm-hmm.
This is 28 years, and we have another 28 years. And remember, the calendars just repeat every 28 years. Then we have the year 6200 or 2000 AD. We showed this before, but again, so you can see how this count works. And this is where we are right now. This is our era here, 6217 or 2017 to 2044. This is the 28-year cycle right here, the 223rd 28-year cycle. That means, again, we're in the 223rd 28-year cycle. And this would be the 224th, right? But we're not there yet. We're up here still. And then we have here at this ending here, that's the 9th 700-year cycle ends. The 225th 28-year cycle ends. The 90th 70-year cycle ends as well, and it's the year 6300 or 21 AD. This is 75 years into the future. Mm-hmm. In 75
Wow.
years, it's going to be 2100 family. So things move quick.
That's right.
Anybody born now, so to speak, in this time, and they live to be older than 75, they're going to get into the year 2100 because we're in the year 2025. So that means
Right.
75 years left till the year 2100. Wow. See, perspective and how to number time is crucial, right?
That's right.
So all of these cycles, if we don't know these cycles, it'll be hard for you to exactly pinpoint things. And I'll explain how these work. These are not just numbers we're pulling out of the air. So this chart shows the years 6077 to 6300 or 1877 to 2100 AD. Wow. Go ahead, brother.
So the total number of days in the perfect 28-year seasonal cycle is 10,227 days. In the 700-year prophetical cycle, there are 255,675 days. And in this 7,000-year creation cycle, there is a total of 2,556,750 days. The days in Jah's cycles cannot be added to or taken away from because they are just the right number of days Jah's allotted for his seasons and his years. The calendars of the world must use the same number of days in Jah's cycles. It doesn't matter how they form their calendars or which days, weeks, months, seasons they use to start their calendar. They live in Jah's creation of his wisdom with his perfect number 7 from the beginning.
That's right. Doesn't even matter. They can't see. What we're saying is that it doesn't matter. When the Gregorian calendar came on the scene and tried to evolve from the Julian calendar, they skipped 10 days in a date, but the 10 days didn't get missed in Jah's almanac. It's just that they moved around dates, and so when they
That's
try to
right.
change calendar dates and change this day here and add a day here, it doesn't matter. It's almost like if somebody gives you 10 blocks of Lego to work with, and you can formulate them however you want, but no matter what, you only have 10 blocks. If you want to stack them at two on top of each other, you can get 5 piles. You want to do 3 and 2 and 4 and 1, it doesn't matter. You can shift them all around. You're still going to have that 10,227 days that are in order that can't come out. I know it's hard for people to kind of understand, and so we can only try to show these things with charts because it might just seem like we're just making up things. But as you can see on your screen, the math is here, right? And you'll notice that when it comes to the 28-year cycle, this is very important. 28-year cycle has 10,227 days. That's just cycle and the Gregorian cycle and the Julian 28-year cycle. But notice something here. 10,227 divided by 28. What's that number, Javid?
365.25 days.
What? Isn't that how long they say like a year
Sounds
is?
familiar.
Sounds very familiar. And this is why the Julian calendar is actually more perfect than the Gregorian calendar. Yes, the Gregorian calendar tries to be accurate in terms of getting the equinox set at the exact second and moment and all of that foolishness. But it's just a trick. It's it's really a math. So when they try to tell you that they're dealing with, how they're watching the sun, moon, and stars and stuff, and they have to use them for a base standard. But as you can see, the 28-year cycle is showing you there's 365.25 days, 25 cents, let's say, right? And if you get 4 25 cents, that makes a whole $1.
That's
And
that's
that's
right.
why when it comes to Gregorian calendar, you have 3 years of 25 cents, and then the fourth year has 25 cents too, but that's a leap year because all four of those 25s equal one day. So that leap year will have 366 days because you can't have a quarter day anywhere, right? We can't just say, all right, this day today is ending at like 12 o'clock. And no, I can't do that.
That's
So
right.
it's very important to see this math, that what you're dealing with the Gregorian calendar and the Julian calendar is a mathematical count coming from Jah's almanac. They can't use anything else. They
That's right.
can't. It's impossible, right? And so this is very key for us because now it's almost like you're on a drone, and when you're in a drone or a high view, the bird's eye view, you can see so much of everything. Exactly what it is when you have Jah's almanac. You can see what's going on with time, and then they try to shift their lunar cycles in within the 365.25, and you can see that too.
That's right. So, family, when you see these numbers that we're showing you, you see clearly how the heathen, they're only using the numbers of days that Jah has given us. They can't come out of that. It's just
That's
like
right.
working within the 7 day weekly cycle. You can't change that. What they can do is just lie about the numbers,
That's
but they
right.
can't change the numbers. And
That's
they're
right.
playing with numbers and mathematics, and this is what they're doing on us. And they've deceived the whole world to making them think that it's impossible to figure out these numbers. It's impossible to figure out how old the universe is and how old the earth is. And just because it takes work and effort, most people are not going to put in this work and effort,
That's right.
and they think they've deceived everyone. But one factor they haven't factored in is Jah's Holy Spirit.
That's
And
right.
Jah can give his Holy Spirit to whomever he chooses. And if that man puts the effort in, just like how Daniel put the effort into figuring out the number
Hmm.
of days and years, then we can do it too. And our elder David Ray has done this work through the Holy
Hmm.
Spirit. And despite many people saying that it's impossible to do, he has done it. He's a true Israelite, and we're sharing this work with
Hmm.
all Israel who wants to follow and believe the truth.
Nothing is impossible with Jah. Nothing. All right. So here we are. This is today. So remember, today is the sixth Sabbath. It's the fourth of the third month, but it's also the 2,273,376 day from creation. Yeah, you can
That's
figure it
right.
out. That's how I figured it out. Why? Well, because we know how much days are in a 28-year cycle. There's 10,227. And then when you know where we are, we're in the 223rd 28-year cycle. So all you have to do is start doing your mathematics and multiplying, right? And when you do the 10,227 times uh, 223, right? The 223, it'll bring you out to this number, very close to it. But then you'd have to count the rest of the days. So this is how exact it is. We are 9 years into the 223rd 28-year cycle. This is the 89th 70-year cycle, and there's 5 years left until the 90th 70-year cycle, which occurs in 2030. So 5 years, and the 89th 70-year cycle will be over, and in 2031 or 30 is the end, and 2031 will be the beginning of the 90th 70-year cycle. And that means there's 10 70-year cycles left. And this is also the ninth 700-year cycle era that we're in. And there's 75 years until the 10th 700-year cycle. So remember when we went back here? Remember I was talking about this back here?
Yeah,
The ninth 700-year cycle ends right there. So in 75 years, this ninth 700-year cycle that we're in is over, and then we'll be getting into the 10th 700-year cycle and 10th and final one. And of course, the Messiah is coming in this 10th, you know, 700-year cycle. He first came in the beginning of the seventh 700-year cycle, and he's coming back in the 10th 700-year cycle, sometime within it.
that's right.
Just trying to show you the accuracy of this understanding. See, there are 170-year cycles in a 7,000-year cycle. Here's the math, but then here's how it might look on a chart for you. So we have 10 here, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 are 10 pillars. So 10 times 70, as we know, is 700. So this covers from year 1 to 700 years, which is equivalent to 4199 BC to 3500 BC. This is one 700-year cycle. It's also 10 70-year cycles. And as you can see, we increase. We have 20 70-year cycles, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. So you get to 100 70-year cycles, because 100 times 70 is 7,000. So this chart here is letting you know that there's 70-year cycles. And when the Messiah came on the earth, AD 1, he came at the beginning of the 70th 70-year cycle. As
Wow.
you can see. So this is the beginning of the 70th 70-year cycle. John the Baptist was born, or the Messiah was conceived at the end of the 69th 70-year cycle. And there's more to it. And here we are now. So again, we are in the year 6225 from creation, or 2025 AD. So we are in 90, it'll be 90 70-year cycles at the end of this cycle, and we're 5 years away from the 70th, the 90th. Boy, it gets so confusing sometimes. And the Messiah will come here. So this
Mm,
Messiah was born AD 1, the first year of this 700-year cycle, the first year of this 70th 700-year cycle, and this 151st year of the 28-year cycle. I'll show you the more charts still. Don't worry, we're getting to it to make it easier. So again, there are 70 100-year cycles. So we're going back again. Now we have 7 times 100, right? So 7 times 100 is what? 700. So
100.
again, this is grouped into here 700 years. 7, 14, 21, 28, going all the way through to 7,000. And right now we're in the year 6225 from year 1, or 2025, and we're in the year 6,200, right? So that would say that we're in we're in the 62 we're the 62nd century from creation, because we're in the year
Mm,
6,225. So we're 25 years into this 63rd. What's it called? Am I getting confused there? The 63rd century.
Century, yes.
63rd century. Right? Centuries are 100 years. Okay. And the Messiah was born in AD 1, which was the beginning of this 49th century, or 42nd century, right? 4201 is the beginning of the 43rd century. Does that make sense, David? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Because 4200 is 42 centuries, right?
that's right.
So 4201 is, uh, yeah, getting into the 43rd century. Oh, man. Then there are 10, 70, 100-year cycles, right? In the 7,000-year cycle. That's very plain. So 1 times 700. So 1 to 700. Then 701 to 1400. 1401 to 2000. Again, you can see the Babylon equivalents. Up here, year 1 to 7. That's all Jaws. So we're again in the year 6225 from year 1, or 2024. 20, it says 2480. That's from last year, but we're in 2025 now. And we are in the ninth 700-year cycle, and there's 75 years left until we get to the 10th.
That's
Wow.
right. Wow.
So this chart is just everything that you need to have. You have your 700-year cycle. You have the equivalent of 700 years from 4199 to 3,500 BC, which is 700 years. That's equivalent to 10 70-year cycles, which is also equivalent to 25 28-year cycles. So when we move on in time, when the Messiah was born, that's why we color coded 7. This was the beginning of the seventh 7,000-year cycle, 81. It's also the beginning of the 70th, right? 70th 70 year
70-year
cycle.
cycle. Yeah,
And it's also the beginning of the 175th 28-year cycle. John the Baptist was born in the 125, 150. Oh, yes, 20. So 175, yeah. So this is the beginning of 151, sorry. The end is 175. So 150 28-year cycles. This is the beginning in here of 151, and the accumulation will be 175.
right.
And here we are here. The accumulation will be 225 28-year cycles, but because we're not there yet, we're in the 223rd 28-year cycle, and there's two 28-year cycles left, right?
That's right.
Let me just kind of keep it up here, show it that way.
Yeah. A
Take a
lot of
little bit of a
numbers.
look. A lot of numbers, but what you're getting to see is that how they all are synchronized within the 7,000-year cycle. We're using 70-year cycles, 700-year cycles, centuries, and 28-year cycles. So again, all of these cycles are within the 7,000-year cycle. We talked about the 28-year cycle, how it repeats itself. So a 2025 calendar will repeat in the year 2031, 2042, 2053, and 2059. This doesn't sound right here, but because I know what's happening. It's not the full 28 years here. But a 28-year cycle, perpetual calendar, is that it resets every 28 years, right? Since leap years come in 4 cycles, you need to find a cycle that is a multiple of 4 years. You can then observe that in 28 years, you have 7 leap years and a shift of 35 days, which is a multiple of 7. You therefore get a repeat after 28 years. So 1913 was a 28-year cycle finished. 1941, 1969, and here we are at 2025. This 28-year cycle will finish at or start again at 2053. Then the next one after that, 2081. So just showing you again these cycles that Babylon knows of. And how do we get this understanding? Well, there's 20 years. There's 10,227 days. 10,227 divided by 28 gives us 365.25. So when we have the Gregorian calendar, remember they have 3 years that are common years of 365, and then the 366th year, the fourth year is 366 days because they're adding this quarter, and this quarter, and this quarter, which gives you one whole day, making it 1 plus 365 is 366. So you can see they get a day here, a day here, a day here. This is how their calendar works. But remember, they don't say it's a quarter day. They just, as we know, 365 as we live, that's how they reset their cycle. Again, when you look at the Gregorian calendar, because they know Jah's almanac, there's 365 days. Again, remember, this is 365. The quarter doesn't really exist. I've just put it there so you can see it because it's just 365, 365, 365, 366. So we have 21 365-day years, and we have 7 366 leap years in the 28-year cycle. Let's take a look at them. Here's the 21. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3 times 7 is 21. We have 7 leap years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is what this is showing us. 7 leap years, 21 common years. You add up all these days, you get 10,227 days in a 28-year cycle. So the Gregorian calendar knows these things. And when we're doing using Jah's almanac and his 28-year cycle, for those people like who are born in, let's say, this almanac here is from 6133 to 6160, or 1933 to 1960. So if you were born before 1960, obviously that would be another 28-year cycle. But if you're born in 1960 and up, you can 1933 to 1960. So here's 1933, 1934, going all the way down to 1960. This is a 28-year cycle. So I don't know if anybody was born between 1933 and 1960. You can find your calendar. If it was, say, calendar 12, you were born in 1944, we would look at calendar 12, and that would be the calendar for your year. Oh, maybe it's the year after, because look what we're doing here. This is 1960 at the bottom of the 20-year cycle. So now we're going to go to the next 20-year cycle. It should start with 1961. Boom. 1961 starts 61, 61. So now we have 1961, another 28-year cycle from 1961 to 1988. The thing about this is this starts from year 1 of creation. So with Jah's almanac, there's no miss. It can't be. It's impossible for it to be wrong because it's a cycle that resets itself.
That's right. And I believe most of us were likely born within this 28-year cycle on the screen from
That's right.
1961 to 1988.
Most of us older folks, yes.
Yeah,
Some of those young bucks, like my children, are outside of this. They're in the next 28-year cycle, right? So yeah, like for example, I was born in 71, so my calendar would be calendar 11. And then, well, if I was to look at calendar 11, because we have the calendars, and let's show you what I mean. So this is calendar 11 we're talking about, right? 1971.
Yeah.
Let me go to our almanac. And let's find the 28-year cycle. I gotta put on my glasses here. It's almost like I can't see that fine print. I'll just bring it over on this side. The 28-year cycle calendar. Okay, there we are. We got it. Okay. All right, so what I'm showing you on here is this is the 28-year cycle. Okay, so this is the first year of the 28-year cycle. And we're looking for calendar what, Brother Javid?
Calendar 11.
All right, so we have the first year. This year here is equivalent to 2017, because this is for our era. So when you get the book, you'll have the 20-year cycle for our era. So calendar 11, calendar 6, calendar 7, calendar 8, calendar 9, calendar 10, calendar 11, right? And I was born on February 13th. I'm going to make it bigger. So this is calendar 11. I was born on February 13th. There's the 13th, which would be a bib 7.
7.
But Brother Jabba, do you mind me putting up your birth date or
Yeah,
anything?
yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
What,
So I was
what,
born in
what,
1977, which would be calendar number 17,
all right, so
equivalent to the year 6177.
so calendar 17, right? You were born in 1977. We're at calendar 11. We're going to keep going down to calendar 17, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And you are July.
Right? And July is equivalent to the month Elul,
Mm-hmm.
6th month of Jah's calendar year,
And what
and
day are you?
July 25th.
Okay, so 25th, which would be right here.
Yeah, so that'd be equivalent to the 20th day of the 6th month. So my
Yes,
real birthday is Elul 20.
that's right. The big numbers are Jazz numbers. The little numbers are the Gregorian calendar numbers. So in 1975, 77. So you said 77?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 1977. It was calendar 17. This is the calendar for 1977. I
Right.
mean,
So I
if
was
I
born
wanted,
on a second day of the week, which would be a Monday, right? So my birthday should always fall on a Monday and should never shift. And Sean's birthday will always fall on the seventh day of the week and never shift.
that's right.
So, family, when you have Jaw's calendar, take the time to figure out when your real birthday is so that you know on Jaw's almanac when your true date of birth is
And I'll tell you
compared to
what,
your current date
yeah,
of birth.
going along with what Brother Java was saying, if somebody wants me to figure out their birth date, go ahead. You could put them in the room. Just tell me your Gregorian birth date. Now, it's good if you know when you were born, because if you were born between 6 and 12, 6 in the night and 12, that has to be specific, right? Because the Gregorian calendar changes dates at midnight, where, Jazz dates don't change then. So I just had it up here too. If we go to 1977, this is on your. You could go. You could just utilize your own the date thing on your computer. And July what again? 25th.
Yeah,
There it is, right there. I don't know if you can see it, but
yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
it's July 25th. Again, perfect with here, right? The 25th, Monday. So Jazz Almanac is perfect.
that's
Can't
right.
slip.
That's right. So even though your birth date or day of the week may change from year to year, when you know your true birthday on Jaw's almanac, that and day will never shift. It'll always be the same.
That's
So
right.
Shauna was born on a bib 7 and it falls on the seventh day of the week. Every year, it's always going to fall on the seventh day of the week. It's always going to be a bib 7.
That's right. But if you were to consider my Gregorian date as when I was born that year was February 13th on a Bib 7, well, the next year, February 13th will fall on a Sunday. And then when the leap year comes, it'll skip 2 days. And so your birth Gregorian Babylon date shifts from the day of the week. Whereas, as Brother Javid is highlighting, is that when you're born on well, you're all born on Jazz Almanac, but when you work it out on Jazz Almanac, you stay. A Bib 7 will always be the seventh day of the week. It won't shift, but the Gregorian calendar shifts.
That's right. So if you are only going off the Gregorian calendar and you acknowledge your birthday every year, you might not actually be keeping your real birthday.
That's
Because if
right.
I was born on July 25th and this year it falls on a Saturday, I wasn't born on a Saturday,
That's
right? I
right.
was born on a Monday. And so
Hmm.
once you acknowledge these days, you actually might be acknowledging the wrong day that you were
That's right.
actually born on. So it's important to know your true birth date and date on Jah's almanac. And now that you have it, I would strongly advise everyone to figure out your true birthday, and so you can acknowledge it on the proper time. When you know that day comes, you can say, yeah, another year has passed, and move on.
That's right. So as we go through the 20-year cycle, this is from 1989 to 2016. And then this is the era where we are now. So we're calendar 9, 2025. And again, if we just go to, if we want to go to calendar 9, I just want to do it quickly, just so people can get an understanding here. Calendar 9. Remember, we're looking up here for the numbers. This is the 11th year, so we're looking for the 9th year. So calendar 9, it says 6225 because it is this era. 2025, we are on the 4th of Sivan, April 12th. See that?
Yeah, and
Perfect.
this is actually a good almost like a tutorial for those who have Jah's calendar. This is showing the people how to use Jah's calendar in the proper way to figure out um, not only your true birth date, but any date that you'd want to figure out. You'll be able to use this Jah's calendar
That's right.
perfect.
Anything. Mhm. All right. Let's continue. So we utilize the 364-day common year cycle of 364 days in a common year. We utilize the 371-day minor sabbatical year, which is 53 Sabbaths, concluding with the 370-day major sabbatical year, which is 54 Sabbaths, completing a 28-year solar cycle. Right? 4 times 7 is 28. Go ahead,
Mhm.
brother.
28-year cycle governs and keeps all the days, the weeks, months, seasons, years, and feasts fixed on the same day of the week and date of the month forever. The perfect 28-year solar seasonal cycle is comprised of 10,227 days of perfection. There are 24 common years and 4 Sabbath years in the original 28-year cycle.
That's right. So when we're looking at this chart as well, remember we're looking at the Gregorian chart in its 28-year cycle, and now we have Jah's 20-year cycle, which is the original. So this is how it originally is. You notice that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 times 4 is 24. So there's 24 common years in the white, right? And then the
Mhm.
sabbatical years are the 7th year. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, minor sabbatical year, a minor sabbatical year, a minor sabbatical year, and then the major or great sabbatical year with 378 days. Again,
Mhm.
this is 52 weeks, 53 weeks, 53 weeks, 53 weeks, 54 weeks. The weekly cycle is not broken. We're not adding these days to it to try to make anything match up with anything. This is the number that Jah gives in order for the 28-year cycle to be perfect. It can only
That's
work
right.
like this. Well, it can work like this, but you can see that the Gregorian and Julian calendars also know how to manipulate those numbers and kind of start it again. And this is what it's about with people who have false calendars. They can only use Jah's 28-year cycle, but they might start it and end it and switch up days or whatever. But you can't add or take away from his days.
That's right. And another thing to mention, these sabbatical years that Sean is showing you on the chart of 371, 371, 378, these are not intercalary days.
No,
These are days that Jah's already allotted every 7 years. Right? We're not adding days to the 364. Those days are already fixed and set by Jah.
that's right. That's right. So again, doing the same math before, like we did with the Gregorian calendar, 364 days. There was 24 common years. There's your number when you multiply 24 times 364. We have, remember the minor sabbatical years. There was three of them at 371. You multiply these two, you give this number. We have the major sabbatical year, 57, 54 weeks, 378, 54 weeks. Obviously, that number stays the same. You add up 8,000, 1,000, and the 300 here, and it gives you, again, the perfect number of 10,227 days that the Gregorian calendar has to use as well. So when we're talking about these minor sabbatical years and major sabbatical years, the even though it's not intercalary, but when we get into the 371 days, that 7 days belongs to the 12th month Adar.
That's right.
The 14 days belongs to Adar, and I want to show you what I mean. So this is Adar in the common year, meaning the 12th month, right? So these are the last 3 months. Month 10, 11, 12, Tebeth, Sabat, and Adar. Adar is equivalent to January. You can see that it has 30, 30 days. This would be the 364th day of the year. It's the last day. Then we have Adar in the minor sabbatical year. You'll see that the 30s were the 364, but then we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Sabbath day years here. So we have 7 days because it's the 7th year, totaling 371 days, and in Adar we'll have 37 days. And then, of course, with the major sabbatical year, every 28th year, you'll see that major Adar has 44 days or 2 weeks extra according to the common year, but it's a part of the count. So it's not like it's extra, but when you're comparing it to the common year, it's 14 days. As you can see, 1 week of 7 days, like the minor sabbatical year, and then the other week for the major sabbatical year, having Adar have 44 days. The weekly cycle, again, still is not broken. All the seasons, months, days, and years and festivals stay, intact.
That's
So
right.
looking at it again, this is a 364 common day year. Adar has 30 days. The equinoxes are the middle. Then we have a minor sabbatical year every 7th year in the 28-year cycle 3 times. This is how Adar will look here with the 37 days. The equinoxes and solstices are still the middle. Then you have the major Sabbath year of 378 days. Here's Adar here with the 14 days or the 2 weeks. Again, everything is keeping in line. Equinox is still in the middle. It's perfect. So no matter how you want to look at it, Jah's common year divided up into the months and how many days are in the months, what day of the week each month starts on. I would screenshot this because I'm not going to explain the whole thing, but I'm just letting you know, showing you a common year of 30 days, the minor sabbatical year, Adar in the minor sabbatical year of 37, and then the major sabbatical year in the 28th year. Everything else stays, but again, Adar is being moved over, or the days are being allotted to Adar.
That's right. The last month of Jah's year. And these
Mhm.
these these days added can only be added in 7 day cycles. It's
That's
not like
right.
we're spreading out these days and adding one day in every month. No, it has to be in 7 day cycles so that way it doesn't disrupt the seasons or
That's
months of
right.
the year.
That's right. So after coming from understanding this, look at it again. Jah's 20-year cycle, which is original, obviously it came before the Gregorian cycle. It came before any calendar. There's no calendar that was on the world besides Jah's almanac in the beginning. And you add up all the days, 1027. The Gregorian calendar, they utilized Jah's 20-year cycle too, but they started differently. Jah has 4 sabbatical years. The Gregorian calendar has 7 leap years of 4 years. So 7 times 4 up here, 4 times 7 down here. Again, the
Hmm.
same amount of days, but they start in January and they do all the different kind of things, but
Right.
they can't do anything except use that 10,227 days that belongs to Jah and the 28-year cycle.
That's right.
Right? Taking a look again. Bless up, John Dunn. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
So again, on the left side is Jah's scriptural almanac, the scriptural calendar, with the 10,227 days, how it's divided up. And on the right, the astronomical calendar of the Gregorian and Julian understanding. More the Julian. The Julian is more perfect than the Gregorian, but we can't do nothing about science right now. And they're saying 10,227 days, right? So again, 7 times 4 equals 28. 250 times 28, which is the 20-year cycle, gives us 7,000 years. So Jazz calendar has a 20-year cycle. It follows the 7-day weekly cycle or the Sabbath week. Sabbath or sabbatical years. They were every 7 years. There are 4 Sabbath years. And here we are. Now, this is how we could also know, because the years are perfect on Jazz Almanac and you can know everything. This is how we can kind of see things clearly. Actually, you know what? Give me a second here. Let me see
Mhm.
if I could. Mhm. All right, watch this. 10 minutes.
All right.
When was the Messiah born? The year, season, month, festival, and date of the birth of the Messiah. Let's get into, now that you know all that about the chronology, let's look into this thing. Again, here we are with our chronology. You know now that the Messiah was born in the year 4201 or 1 AD. You see, some people in the world, if you look up in Google, when was Jesus born or Christ born, some of them have him being born like 5 BC, 6 BC, 4 BC, 3 BC. How could he be born in a BC era? It doesn't make no sense.
No
His
sense.
birth dictates that BC was the year before it, before Christ. So we have it, and some other people might not, use that, but AD 1 would be the year the Messiah was born. So that's how we're organizing it and understanding it, and so do the scriptures. So 4201. Take a look here now. So go ahead, brother.
So the Messiah was born at the beginning of the seventh 700-year cycle in the year 4201 or 1 AD. He was born in the beginning of a 28-year cycle. He was born on the first day of the week. He was born in the latter rain season or the spring harvest season. He was born during lambing season. He was born on the 12th day of the third month, Sivan.
So these are the truths of when the Messiah was born. Not guessing games, a perfect understanding of an almanac and chronology. And I want to kind of share quickly in the next few minutes, because this is not that long. We got most of the legwork in. Anything you want to add here, though, brother Javed?
No, I think this is great information for the brethren and sisters to know.
Okay. So here we have projected on your screen the seventh 700-year cycle, and the year 4201 or 1 AD commences. It's the year of the birth of Joshua. 4201 equals 1 AD, and there it is. So you can see that it's the beginning of a 28-year cycle as well, because
Mm-hmm.
from here to here is a 28-year cycle. On Jah's Almanac, if you have the 7,000-year cycle, each line is 28 years. So 28 years in here, 28 years in here. He was born on the 1 AD. He died in 34 AD. He was 33 years old in 34 AD, and he died maybe just under, he died, what? I would say almost like 50 days, 50, almost 60 days before his birthday, because he was
Yeah,
born on Pentecost around that time.
that's right.
And so this is when, he was, again, this is the year 4234 or 34 AD. So that means 4,200 years from creation. Again, this is, whoa. Are you still there, Javed?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
here.
okay, my screen just went off. Did it go off on there too? Oh,
No, yeah, everyone
okay.
can still see it. Yeah.
So 4201 again is the year 4,201 from creation, equivalent to 1 AD. All right. So remember, we're talking about that ACBD BC business, and
Mm-hmm.
you'll see here on the left we have how we're utilizing with the Julian calendar from the first book without the 0 BC. No 0 BC here, right? So 4199 would be 2 BC, 4200 would be 1 BC,
BC.
4201 is still going to be 1 AD. Now, when you're looking at it with there's our year 0, 4199 is 1 BC, 4200 is 0 BC, yeah, or year 0, and then 4201 would be 1 AD. Both these counts are perfect. So John was conceived in the year 4199, right, which would be BC 2 or 2 BC. John the Baptist was born in the year 4200, and the Messiah was conceived in that same year, 1 BC, and the Messiah was born in 4201, and John would have been probably 1 years old that time, right?
That's correct.
John is actually 6 months older than the Messiah. So if you want to again look at it on the other way of understanding where 4199 BC is year 1 or 4200 is BC 1, it doesn't matter. John was conceived in 1 BC. Messiah was conceived in 4200. John was born in 4200. Messiah was born in 4201, and John was 1 years old at that time too.
That's right.
So there's a perfection, and this is very important for your average person. They're going to like, what are they talking about? But if people get into calendars, they're going to really want to know why we're doing these things. So what I want to let you know is at the end of the sixth 700-year cycle and the 150th 28-year cycle and the 60th 70-year cycle is right here. That's a major sabbatical year in 1 BC. And then the start of the seventh 700-year cycle and the 151st 28-year cycle and the 61st 78-year cycle is in AD 1. So again, it sounds like a lot of technicality, but when you're trying to pinpoint what these things are, you got to do it this way, right? And in the Revelation of Joh's Almanac, the book, Elizabeth conceives John the Baptist in 1 BC. Mary conceives Joshua. John the Baptist is born in 0 BC or the year 4200. Joshua was born, Joseph and Miriam, and Joshua fled to Mitzrayim, 4201 in that year. Right? Joshua was baptized. His 40-day fast ministry begins in 30 AD. And then, of course, we know his crucifixion. So this is from the book as well. And as you can see, it's quite detailed in this chronology. John the Baptist died at AD 31, and the Messiah died, as we said, in 34 AD. And that's when also the year the Holy Spirit was given, right?
That's right.
So this is the year of the Messiah's first 28-year cycle. He was born in year 1, 42-1 AD, right? This is 1 AD. Year 4201, this is 1 AD. I shouldn't have put the 42 AD there, right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah, it's 2 AD, 3 AD, but this is all in the AD area. And this is when the Messiah was born in this one here, 1 AD, the year 4201.
That's right. And now that we know that he was born at the beginning of a 20-year cycle, we know now that he was also conceived at the end of a 20-year cycle.
That's right, brother. So the Messiah was conceived in the 6th month and born in the 3rd month of the following year, which was spring and was the last month of the latter rains. And let's just get in these last couple of verses here, brother.
All right. So Luke chapter 1, verse 26. And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from Jah unto a city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Miriam. Verse 36. And behold, thy cousin Elizabeth, she hath also conceived a son in her old age, and this is the 6th month with her, who was called barren, for with Jah nothing shall be impossible.
So when you're reading these verses here, it's good to know that when Gabriel's coming in the 6th month, that is also the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy.
Right.
This is not up here. In this 6th month, it's not just talking about the 6th month of her pregnancy, because then you wouldn't know. It's talking about the 6th month of the year was also the 6th month of her pregnancy. And
That's
then we
right.
know that after this visitation from the angel, what does Mary do in Luke? Continuing in Luke?
In verse 56, and Mary abode with her about 3 months and returned to her own house. Now Elizabeth's full time came that she should be delivered, and she brought forth a son.
So we know that 6 months, the 6th month, Mary goes to visit her. It's her 6th month, Elizabeth. She stays there for 3 months. So Mary's 3 months pregnant because she becomes pregnant after the angel leaves and she goes to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, not having sex with Joseph, that's folly. And she stays for 3 months. So 6 plus 3 months is 9 months. So she stayed until around when John was born, and then she comes back to her own house. And because we have Jah's almanac and we know this understanding, you can see how this works out. Now, there's 39 to 40 weeks for pregnancy, and 40 is the perfect number for weeks of pregnancy because 39 times 7 is 273, but 40 times 7 is 280. There's your 28 again.
Mm-hmm.
28 times 10, right? This equals 9 months, this 280 days. So we're being very specific. There's 40 weeks or 280 days. And these 40 weeks, these 280 days, and 9 months are all simultaneously the same. They're synonymous. All right. So, as Brother Javid was saying, this is the year of John's birth, or the year 4200 or 0 BC. It was a major sabbatical year, and this is when the Messiah was conceived. So, Gabriel visited Miriam on that first day of the week there,
Right. In the 6th month, which
in
we
the
know is
sixth
the month
in the
below.
6th month, yeah, of Elul. And when he left, she conceived. So she conceived on the first day. Even if Gabriel came here to see her on the Sabbath, when she went to sleep, she became pregnant. So she conceived the Messiah on the 19th. That would be day one of conception. This would be 7 days from conception. Now, this is also, remember that Elizabeth was 6 months already. So 6 months from here, Mary, how long did Mary stay? For 3 months, right?
Stay for
So we
three
have
months.
one, there's a month underneath this thing here, and this is the third month. And because John the Baptist and Joshua the Messiah are children of prophecy, John was born on the first day of the week at the Feast of Dedication, because he was the one who dedicated the true temple, who was the Messiah, to Israel. And they were born during prophetical times. So now we can see that John is born here and Mary conceives the Messiah. All right, let's do something here. We know it's the 19th, right?
That's
I want
right.
you to be with me. Watch this now. Let's count weeks. Week one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
30.
We're going, so this year's is 30. Now we go to the next year, right? Because the Messiah was born on the third month. 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Sorry, 30, 36. Underneath there's 37, 38, 39, 40. That 40th week would be the 280th day. And that would be the completion of the full term pregnancy. And the Messiah was born that night on the first day of the week after the 40 weeks just completed, full term, 9 months, 280 days. He was born on the first day of the week on the Feast of Weeks, the Feast of First Fruits. And this is how we can count exactly to the T, right? We're counting again. This is how it works. So this is how we know when the Messiah was born, even according to chronology, without utilizing some fantastic prophetical understandings, which we'll leave for next year. But this is the year of the Messiah's birth, the first year of that 28-year cycle, the first year of that first 700-year cycle. You understand?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, so let me finish with this. Look at this. This is the last thing you got to know. If there's anything I want you to know is this. So this is the count of 2,000 years since the conception, birth, and resurrection of the Messiah until the present time. So going through all of that, we know that it was year 4200, 0 BC, that the Messiah was conceived, right?
Right.
Messiah was born in AD 1, right? So this is the year 4200, 0 BC. BC 1, Messiah was conceived, John the Baptist was born. This was the last year of the 700-year cycle. It was the last year of the 150th 28-year cycle. The very next year after 4200 is 4201 AD 1 or 1 AD. The Messiah is born. It's the start of the 7th 700-year cycle and the 150th 51st 28-year cycle. So from there, 2,000 years from the year 4201 from creation, or 1 AD until the year 6201 from creation, or 2001 AD, right? So 2001 AD, this is the year 6201. This is 2,000 years from here, which is 2,000 years. or 2001 AD, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since the Messiah's birth. And now where are we now? We're in the year 6225, 2025. The Messiah, if we went back 2,000 years today, the Messiah would be 25 years old 2,000 years ago. So it's been 2,000 years since the Messiah was born, but it hasn't been 2,000 years since the Messiah died.
That's correct.
So we're in the 223rd 28-year cycle. So if we going back again, remember the Messiah died in the year 4234 or 34 AD. The Messiah died and he resurrected. The Holy Spirit was given in that year. So if you count 2,000 years from 4234 or 34 AD, you count that, it brings you to the 6234 from creation or 2034 AD, which is in the future, is what, 9 years from now.
That's right.
So year 6234 or 2034 AD, that'll be 2,000 years since the Messiah rose and the Holy Spirit was given. It'll be also the ninth 700-year cycle. It will be 65 years left until the 10th one. So
Wow.
what I'm trying to say in all what I'm trying to say in all of this, brothers and sisters, is that since the Messiah's death and resurrection, it hasn't been 2,000 years yet.
That's correct.
It's been
That's right.
2,000 years since he was born. And again, if we go back 2,000 years, looking at this chart, we'd go back to 6225 or
That's right.
4225, right? And
Right.
we'd see that he'd be only 25 years old. So the Messiah didn't even start his ministry yet 2,000 years ago. He would start it in the year. So when we get to the year 2030, 2,000 years from that, that would be when he was 30 years old and he began his ministry for 3.5 years. So there's a lot going on, and I will talk more about 2030 because 2030 is also a sabbatical year as well, and
Mhm.
there's prophecies moving. But this is what I want you to get an understanding, right?
That's a great understanding to know. That's a good chart for so not another screenshot chart, people, that you want to screenshot,
That's
because
right.
what Brother Sean is saying is that it hasn't been 2,000 years since the Messiah um
Died and
died,
resurrected. Hmm.
right? 9 years from now, in the year 2034, will be 2,000 years since the Messiah died.
That's correct. And in the year 2030 will be 2,000 years since he started his ministry. So, Jah works in patterns. Who knows? Maybe he's going to give us a little bit of the Holy Spirit, a little bit more in order to, continue the gospel. But with all of that said, I want to give all praise to Jah, our Father, and His Son, Jehoshua the Messiah, who died for our sins, also known as Yah, Yehoshua, Yahweh, Yeshua, Yahusha, Yeshaya, Jesus the Christ, the Nazarite. He's also a Nazarite who died for our sins. And may you get some knowledge, wisdom, and understanding from this. I know this was a technical one, not much scriptures, but it lays a foundation of chronology. You know the importance of chronology. You know the different understandings. And if you just jumped in now, I would encourage you to go back and watch because you need to understand chronology if you're going to deal with calendars. And because Jah's almanac, his scriptural calendar, is compatible with his chronology, again, it's one of the more greater proofs that the calendar that we forward, the true scriptural calendar in these times, is the Jah's almanac. It's his true calendar, not the lunar, not the Enoch, not the Jubilee, not the Zadok, or any of those calendars that utilize cycles, lunar cycles, or the equinoxes and solstices. This is the true chronology and time frames of Jah. Thank you for listening in. I want to give a shout to all the brothers and sisters of Zion, Elma, Mama Greg included.
Yes.
Brother Javed, thank you too.
Yes. Give thanks, Sean, and all the brethren and sisters.
Hmm. Yes, so John, so the year 2030 will be 2000th year of the beginning of Joshua's ministry. Exactly.
You got
Uh,
it.
mhm. And thank you for, yes, John, that's right, yes. And I will be, I didn't say too much about Pentecost today, but I'm going to put out a little prep Pentecost lesson this week, maybe tomorrow or something. Normally I would do it, but as you know, next week is Pentecost. And so we'll talk about the count a little bit of the count. No, we talked about the count already, to be honest. There's a video about the true count of Pentecost on the channel. I would encourage you to watch it and anybody to watch it. But I will try to get a video out this week, Jah willing, to prep us for this day. Next week is a long weekend. So you have the Sabbath, and then right after that Sabbath is the first day of the week, and it'll be the Feast of Pentecost. And in particular, Sunday morning is the morrow after the seventh Sabbath, when the Holy Spirit was given to the apostles at 9 o'clock in the morning.
That's right. So next weekend will be a double Sabbath, family.
Mm-hmm. That's all we have to say. Mm-hmm. Praise Jah.
Right. Praise Jah.
Okay. Yep. I'm seeing the 2030 agenda. How ironic. Yes, brother John Dunn. Yeah, man. Definitely the same thing. We talk about these things a lot, and we're starting to see certain prophetical things. And there's also around that time too, isn't it? The Gentiles 28-year cycle. Remember when they did with remember that count with the Twin Tower thing counts, but
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I think that comes up as well. Was it 2001 the Twin Towers were destroyed, right?
If I remember correctly, yeah.
Yeah, man. 2029 is a 28-year cycle from that date. And the reason why I bring it up because they're counting that 28-year cycle. Because from 2001, when that was destroyed, it was 28 years later before that it was dedicated, and it was 28 years before that the plans were in to build it. So
That's right. That's right.
kind of unique. Yes, brother John, bless up to you. One love to everyone. Thank you for the support and compliment. Yeah, man, a strong lesson indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone have a blessed week. Yes, Sister Andrea. Praise John Joshua. Yeah, I know. We usually all of our lessons are packed up with a whole bunch of scriptures, but when you're dealing with these charts, you have the charts, we have the scriptures, but then they have to be explained with charts. And next week, again, we'll finish off with Pentecost. We'll get the birth of the Messiah, talk a little bit about that. And now the Messiah was born on the Feast of First Fruits. You see that? No one is teaching this,
That's right.
No one is teaching this still.
We know the true birth of the Messiah on the 12th day of the third month on a holy feast day.
Just bless up Sister Trinidad. One love again, All Zion Assembly. Mama Greg, Monroe family.